2025 is coming to a close, and you know what that means. Today we're taking a look at some of the greatest storylines in CS in the esports scene that we've had. We're gonna start off with some honorable mentions, and then we'll look at the top 3 stories, in my opinion, that happened this year. You can obviously rate them down below and let me know how you would rank them, and if you think that I've missed the storyline in the pro CS scene, let me know in the comments down below. And I would say let's start off with the video. Don't forget about a giveaway in the description down below. And now a quick word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by SkinBaron, the ultimate marketplace for buying and selling your CS skins. SkinBaron is a German company with an excellent Trustpilot rating, trusted by thousands of players. Save up to 30% compared to the Steam market with over 1 billion skins and easy to use filters. Finding your perfect skin is a breeze. They offer multiple payment methods including credit card, Klarna and even more. And if you're selling a skin worth over 1,000 euros, you'll only pay 2% fees on it. Use my code Shifterz to support the channel and start your SkinBaron journey today. Thank you SkinBaron, and now back to the video. Let us start off with 2 honorable mentions. The first one would be the FaZe simple storyline that we had in the Austin Major. Technically, this all started off in IEM Dallas, where Simple already played for the team and Skulls was a substitute. However, that storyline didn't go well. Let's set the stage. It's stage 3 in the Austin Major, and what we have seen so far didn't really impress us. And well, then came stage 3 with a convincing victory with a 3-1 win, making it to the playoffs as the only NA team in the arena, thanks to Elish at that point still being in the team, and the crowd already had a favorite. After many years of not seeing Simple on a stage, we finally have him in an arena, and he's supported by Elish, who at that point is the only NA player in the whole quarterfinals. And obviously the crowd was cheering for FaZe in the first matchup against Mongols. However, we all know how that went. They sadly lost in the quarterfinals to Mongols. Then the next storyline that needs to get an honorable mention here is the Furia Molodoi story. Before he joined, the last trophy they won was in 2023, and the team wasn't doing well. There were a couple of roster changes, but nothing seemed to work. And out of nowhere, this kid from Kazakhstan joins the team as an AWPer, no less, and Fallen, the one who's been always AWPing and IGLing, is giving up his main role that he's known for, and he's only doing IGL at this point and picking up the rifle. And well, this kid did some wonders in this team. He received 2 MVP trophies and helped the team get 4 different trophies within the span of a half a year. And until the major, everything looked like they could be the one who could get the major title. They dominated on Vitality, which at this point looked like they were crumbling, and they were a big favorite to win. And well, we all saw how that ended. And that is why I'm only giving this an honorable mention, even though it is a great feat that needs to be displayed. And with that said, let's now move into the 3 main storylines that I would like to focus on. Starting off with the Mongols' journey at the Austin Major. Turning back the time a bit, going back into 2024, this team was an up-and-coming team. They were in the top 20s, as you can see by the scoreboard. However, nowhere near to be contenders with the top teams at that point. However, their roster at that time showed more and more promise. However, it always looked like they would bomb out in 3rd or 4th place and not really make it to the finals. And well, this young team didn't really perform that well in stage 3. They almost bombed out, just making it nearly into the playoffs with a 3-2 scoreline, and nearly making it on a long ass game on Dust 2 against G2. And the first matchup they were facing was FaZe, who at that point was the heavy crowd favorite. They had Simple on the team and they had Elish on the team, and you know the NA crowd was supporting FaZe and no one was supporting them, because at this point the main storyline that everyone wanted to follow was the FaZe Simple storyline. And well, they narrowly beat FaZe to make it into the semifinals to play against Pain And while Pain wasn't really a big pain to win against them, they completely destroyed them with a 2-0 victory and facing off the final challenge, which was Vitality, who at this point had an amazing run. They've made it into a Grand Slam. They had a 30 match victory, which was the longest streak that at this point any team had. There was the NIP win streak who was double that length. However, many people debate how legit that win streak is because it started in 2012 when the game was still in beta and many teams were split upon different player bases, and that is one argument that is being thrown against that win streak. However, to basically please everyone, I would say in modern CS history, Vitality has the longest win streak and overall the second longest win streak. But getting back to the point, they were facing this team who at this point has won one event after another, and at this point the Mongols, they were the crowd favorite, and on top of that you had 100,000 viewers that were in Mongolia watching at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning at public viewing events and watching the major live, which meant around 3% of the whole Mongolian population was watching CS, and everyone at this point in time was supporting the Mongols. And well, it started very promising with a first map going to Mongols. However, sadly, Vitality woke up and destroyed them on the next two maps, getting the win for them and making this the 8th win in the season, and we still had 6 months to go. And sadly, Mongols have fallen off a bit and have not been able to reach the same heights they had half a year ago due to the roster changing. Then the next storyline that I want to take a look at is FaZe during the Budapest Major. And yes, that's a recent one. However, it is something that just shows the simple FaZe magic. FaZe during 2025 has been struggling a lot. They haven't won a single tournament in this year. They had multiple roster changes. They had the tribal simple, that didn't work out. Brokey came back. Then Elige was switched back with Twists. He came back in the team. Rain was switched out for Jacob, and everyone was unsure where this team is heading. Kerrigan was also a big factor that people said he needs to retire. His stats look absolutely horrible, and well, overall it can be seen FaZe had to start in stage 1, and just look on screen, look at the teams that were attending stage 1, and you can clearly see that FaZe shouldn't belong in there. And well, they almost bombed out in stage 1 thanks to the Red Cadets. There was 0.4 seconds left on the clock and they made it. They survived and made it onward to stage 2, and well, we all know how that story went. Stage 2, they breezed through it with a 3-0 victory, and then stage 3 was a bit of a different story. They again nearly made it with a 3-2 victory into the playoffs, but at this point no one expected them to make it this far. And when we look at the playoffs, the first team they would be facing is Mouse, and most people would have had Mouse as the favorite pick, but FaZe magic hit differently. The first map was a very close one, and then the second one was an absolute destruction by FaZe with a 13-2 victory against Mouse. And then the next team they would be facing off in the semifinals was Na'Vi. They just destroyed, I would say, the crowd favorite of Furia and making it into the semifinals against them, most likely looking like they could be the ones in the finals again. And well, this was basically a rematch of the first major in Copenhagen. We started off in Ancient, where it went with Navi's way 5-13. FaZe didn't really perform that well. Then came Nuke, a hair-tight victory by FaZe 13-11, making it a great comeback from an 8-4 side for Na'Vi, and we all ended it off on the map that helped Na'Vi get the first major in CS2, Inferno. FaZe dominated this time and won 13-8, helping them making into the third major final in CS2. And again, at this point, no one expected this team who made it from stage 1 to be here. I think also a lot of the players in the team didn't expect this journey. You basically had a fresh roster with a young talent that no one really knew how he would perform on the big stage. You had Brokey, which people still call washed and are unsure if he should stay in the team. And then you had Kerrigan, who before the major was considered to be an unk and should retire. But nevertheless, they were there at the finals, facing off Vitality and facing off an old teammate, Robs. And to say that it was an emotional match is an understatement. Even Rob said it in the post-game interview, this was a very emotional match for him. But as the storyline goes, sadly, they didn't win the major. They again made it into the second place. However, the first map of that final showed that there was potential. There was a way they could beat Vitality. However, that was not the case and they lost 3-1. But nevertheless, the team was still smiling at the end and you could see they were proud of themselves for making it this far into the tournament. And at the end, no one believed it. But this again just shows that there is FaZe magic that we just simply cannot wish away. And now, let's come to our last journey, and well, I think you guys know it. It's Vitality's villain era. The Shanghai Major is over and Vitality switched Spinks for Robs. And well, he was free. Robs didn't sign a new contract with FaZe, meaning he was a free agent and they basically got him for free. And it was Apex who said it, he was cheaper than butter. And well, it turned out that this would be the greatest roster move in 2025. The journey starts off Katowice, first place. Then Pro League Season 21, first place. Plus Open Lissabon, first place. Melbourne 2025, first place. Rivals Season 1, first place. IEM Dallas, first place. That meant a total of 6 events in a row winning. And they had a win streak of 30, making it the longest win streak in modern CS history. NIP, as mentioned before in the video, was the only one who had a longer win streak, but that was in 2012. And well, they were the team that most people expected to win the major. And at this point, the conversation about an era started. Has the first era in CS2 started with Vitality, or is it still too early to say? This was a hot debated topic in the interviews during the major. And one thing was clear, if they didn't win the major, this conversation is off the table. And once they made it into the playoffs, the first matchup was Na'Vi. They destroyed them 2-0. Then in the semifinals, a fight against Mouse, who at this point they have faced multiple times in the finals during different events in this season and always won against them, but still they were a strong opponent. They had an old teammate who knew how the tactics work in Vitality and therefore could be a threat. And well, this matchup was a hard fight. First map goes to Vitality, second map goes to Mouse and was an absolute destruction against them. And then came Train, where Vitality won and therefore made it into the finals against, at this point, crowd favorite Mongols. And we all remember that scene when Vitality came out into the stadium. They were booed and Apex had his phone out in one hand and had his middle finger up in the other hand and showed it to everyone. And I think this picture of him showing the middle finger to the crowd is the moment where I would say the villain era basically started or became cemented in CS. And well, we all knew how the game went. It started off great for the Mongols, getting the first victory. However, second and third map went to Vitality, and at this point the era started. In one season, this team got a 30 win streak in CS. They got a Grand Slam, they won a major, and it looked like it wasn't stopping. But the second half of the year gave them a reality check. They lost against G2 in the Open London 25 finals. They lost against Furia in Chengdu, and the only thing they were able to get is Pro League Season 2022. And with the last event in the year being the Budapest Major, they had a chance to redeem themselves and protect their title as reigning champions. And the last time this happened was in 2019 when Astralis did it back to back. And we all know how the story ended. Apex got his 4th title and wants to challenge Dupree's 5 titles now. Zaiwu got his 3rd major MVP, and overall this team cemented 2025 as their year. They were always the ones that were hated the most, and nevertheless they made it to first place over and over again, destroying absolute legends in this game, taking down Falcons, who had oil money to buy the best players, taking down Mouse, who were always a big contender, especially in the first season of 2025, and showing that even though they can get knocked down, the second time is not going to be easy. So let's see if their storyline is going to continue in 2026 and if Apex is able to get the 5th title? And most importantly, is Rob's going to get his next Porsche? And with that said, guys, let me know down in the description below. How would you rank the journeys? Did you like the storylines or not? Or did I miss any storylines that you would like maybe to see in a part 2? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching this long video, and I will see you guys on the next one. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more content. And with that said, I will see you guys on the next one.